Hello everyone, this is your WrestleMania 28 preview video. Like I said, a half-hour video, non-stop wrestling for this half hour. Now, real quick, we are going to be running down the card here and just telling you a little bit of the matches. Now, this is an awesome card, guys. I don't know about you, but I, for one, am definitely so psyched about this card, really. First off, you got Maria Menounos and Kelly taking on Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres in a Divas Tag Team match. Team Teddy, which is captained by Santino Marella, and Team Johnny, which is captained by David Otunga. It's a 12-man tag team match where the winning general manager will take control of both Raw and SmackDown. Now, this match has been heavily pushed, and it could really go either way. Of course, Christian will be making his return to the Squared Circle at WrestleMania. It's pretty exciting, so we'll definitely get into that later. Randy Orton versus Kane in just a singles match. I have a lot to say about this match, but of course we'll talk about it a little bit later. And we also have Cody Rhodes taking on the Big Show for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Cody Rhodes has been saying that Big Show is choke artist on one day of the whole year. Guess we can see if that's true come WrestleMania time. Daniel Bryan taking on Sheamus for the World Heavyweight Championship, the vegan versus the red-haired Casper the Ghost, pretty much. Two totally different styles. I'm actually very pumped for that match. I'm also pumped for this match, too, for the WWE Championship. You got CM Punk, the champion, taking on Chris Jericho, the man behind the whole cryptic videos that aired, and, you know, just really awesome stuff with those videos, but more importantly, he has a shot to become the WWE Champion at the grandest stage of them all. Triple H versus The Undertaker, the end of an era match where The Undertaker's undefeated streak, I should say, is still intact, versus Triple H, the challenger, with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee, and the match is being described as the end of an era, which it really is just that. And last but not least, the match that has been talked about ever since this time last year, The Rock versus John Cena, the Icon versus the Icon. You have two guys from two totally different eras gonna battle it out, and it is being described as once in a lifetime, never before, never again, all those great titles, and it's one of those other matches that, honestly, guys, I can't get any more pumped for, because it is just that good. So, let's get into it. So, this first match that we are talking about is the Divas match, and to me it seems almost like any other kind of match, in the sense that whenever WWE throws in a match, 9 times out of 10 pertaining to a Divas match, it tends to just almost like get in the way in terms of the actual card itself. And you know what? This one to me is just no different. I have no emotional attachment to this match. I have no reason to really watch the match. It's a tough call. I mean, going back to really any WrestleMania, there hasn't really been one match in particular that has a good Divas match. And I'm not saying that just to bash on the Divas, because certainly it's not their fault. But at the same time, it's like, there's just no reason to watch. There really isn't. But, you know, keeping all of that in mind and under consideration, I'm going to look at this with an open mind here. And the match itself is Maria Menounos and Kelly versus Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres. Now, in the past few recent months, we've seen Eve Torres become somewhat of a heel and very Lita-esque, in that, you know, she's kind of a whore. I mean, for better or worse. But I mean, that's just the term I give it, and that's the only real term I see fit. Is, you know, instead of, you know, with Lita and Edge, now it's kind of Lita and Zack Ryder, as I am wearing a broski hat. But the thing is, Zack Ryder is a good guy, and I think Zack could always be a good guy. You know, I think now that WWE sees his potential, you know, will forever be a good guy, in my opinion. Now, Maria Menounos, for those of you who are huge in the entertainment field. She's a correspondent for Access Hollywood and Extra, and she co-hosted the show Eurovision Song Contest. I'm reading this straight up from Wikipedia. So, I mean, obviously, I know who she is, but I don't know her work, and that's why I had to go to Wikipedia. But all in all, like I said, there's no real reason for, I think, anyone to have any kind of emotional investment in this match. I think it's only going to be a short match, and it'll probably be the first match on the card. Unless if they throw in a couple surprise matches, which WWE has done in the past with pay-per-views. I mean, let's just not count that out. And, Kelly is, I think she's becoming the new Trish Stratus. I think she's going to be the poster child of the women's division for quite some time. And Beth Phoenix is Beth Phoenix. But I'm going to say for the winner, Maria Menounos and Kelly because of the celebrity involvement. Team Teddy taking on Team Johnny. Now, I need to address something here. This video is being recorded Monday in the afternoon, 6 p.m. to be exact. So Raw hasn't aired, SmackDown hasn't aired, and we still have one more guy for Team Johnny that hasn't been announced. Now, for the teams, we have for Team Teddy taking on, it will be Santino Marella, the captain, with R-Truth, Kofi Kingston, Zack Ryder, and the Great Khali, and someone else, taking on the team of Team Johnny, captained by David Otunga, with Mark Henry, Christian, Dolph Ziggler, and Jack Swagger, and another person to be announced. The general manager of the winning team will become the general manager of both Raw and SmackDown. In addition, if Team Johnny wins, Christian will earn an opportunity to wrestle for the World Heavyweight Championship, as everyone knows. Oh, and of course you have Hornswoggle as the official mascot of Team Teddy. Now, with all that said, and I know that's a lot to take in, a team captained by Santino Marella, a lot of people may just write it off right away. And I've said this for a while now. I think that if anything, Team Teddy is going to win. You look at Team Johnny, their team is stacked. David Otunga, Mark Henry, Christian, Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger. Of those guys, Mark Henry, Christian, Dolph Ziggler, and Jack Swagger all are former champions. Okay? David Otunga is the only man who's not. If you look at Team Teddy, R-Truth, Kofi Kingston, Zack Ryder, the Great Khali, and someone to be named later, the only one from that team who's been a champion is the Great Khali. And that's kind of scary. So on paper and statistically, Team Johnny all the way. But I think with the talent in the ring, with the momentum, the way it's shifting back and forth, the way it's going, all in all, I'm going to say Team Teddy wins. And here's why. Is because people will not expect it, and I think it'll be better for John Laurinaitis. This is a great way to write him off. I would think. I would think this would be his way to say, okay, Mr. Entertainment, he's going to go back behind the curtain as the EVP for WWE. And Teddy Long, we all know what he's capable of. He's been running SmackDown since like 2003, 2004. So it would not make sense at all for Teddy Long to lose. What would you do with him at that point? Unless if maybe his contract's running down, this is a great way for them to write him off. I don't know the true meaning behind it, and I'm sure there could be some kind of greater elaboration behind it. But for now, that's just how I see it. I really am looking forward to this match, though. I think there's going to be a lot of fast-paced action, and that's what makes it great. So Team Teddy, I think, is your winner. I think this match is going to be the dark horse of the card, in the sense that no one's really going to expect this match to take off and to evolve and to be this great match. You have Cody Rhodes, the Intercontinental Champion, who's held the title for, I believe ever since September. I could be wrong. And you have the Big Show, who has one of arguably the worst WrestleMania records of all time. And not just that, but some embarrassing moments. I mean, you look at the Akabono fiasco, getting knocked out by Floyd Mayweather, all the clips that Cody Rhodes has been showing, and there's a reason why he's showing them, is because, I know WWE is fake, but when it comes down to it, Big Show's always been that choke artist on the biggest, grandest stage of them all. And I think it's not necessarily the Big Show's fault. I think, if anything, WWE uses him at WrestleMania to get the other person over, because WrestleMania is a time where fans from any generation can come together, sit down, pop some popcorn, get some pizza, and watch WrestleMania. And for the people who don't really know who the Big Show is, and there are people out there, no matter what generation, they're going to see him as this big, monstrous guy. And when you have someone smaller, like a Floyd Mayweather, or any kind of celebrity for that matter, come in there and just knocking him out, well, you know, it makes that guy look bigger than what he is. And ultimately, that's what they've always used Big Show for, is like a WrestleMania punching bag, essentially. And it stinks because Big Show's such a big dude, and you don't want to mess with a guy like the Big Show. It's just how it is. But at the end of the day, I think this match with Cody Rhodes, this is why it's going to be the dark horse of WrestleMania. This is going to be the match that does so well, I don't think people really would assume it would do as well as what it probably will do. I think at the same time, Cody Rhodes, he's a rising star. A great way to get him over is to beat the Big Show. At the same time, you don't want to bury the Big Show every single WrestleMania. You want to give him at least one decent WrestleMania and get him on a nice farewell, almost. Because when he retires and goes in the Hall of Fame, if he says no, guess what? You have another WrestleMania Hall of Fame paycheck. So they really, at this point, I think they're being very ginger in terms of who they want to induct in the Hall of Fame, and I think Big Show will. I think he just needs that one more WrestleMania moment. And it's possible, look, it's possible this match could even be 10 seconds. It's possible as soon as the bell rings, Big Show hits the WMD, and that's lights out. So I think Big Show will win. This next match, I don't have a whole lot of emotional investment in, and if other people do, by all means, but to me the build-up for it has been minimal, and that's Randy Orton versus Kane. And on paper and any other typical run-of-the-mill pay-per-view, it would be probably the main event and probably a good match. Not the best, but good. You have the Viper, the Apex Predator, Randy Orton, and you have Kane. Now, basically the whole storyline to this is that in one of Kane's last matches before he took his little, hiatus, whatever you want to call it, he basically was, at the time, a good guy, and he shook Randy Orton's hand, and he said ever since then, that's not who he is. He was someone else at that time. Now he's someone different. Now he's the monster Kane, and I like what they've done with Kane. Bringing back the mask, having him go on these long diatribes that no one really understands, but at the same time, it gives you chills. With Randy Orton, he's always going to be one of the poster boys, I should say, for WWE. That's just how it always will be with him. Everything he's gone through up until this point, whether if it was with Evolution, whether if it was with Legacy, no matter what Randy Orton has done, Randy Orton's always been A+ in the ring. And I feel that if I had to pick a winner for any normal pay-per-view, Randy Orton would win 10 times out of 10. But because it's WrestleMania, and to give it a little twist and to develop the storylines into something that I think that they need to be, I think Kane would win. And so I'm going to have to say Kane. And like I said, a lot of people probably won't agree with that, which is fine. I mean, we all have our own picks, and we all want certain people to win. But I think in a match like this, keep in mind, I'm saying this because of storyline reason, to keep it going. At WrestleMania, you always want the good guys to win, but at the same time, you always still have to prepare for the next pay-per-view, and then the next pay-per-view. And I think this would be a great way for WWE to do that, is to build Kane up, to be the savage monster. He took out John Cena. Why not take out Randy Orton? If he did that, then he takes out the two biggest guys the WWE has right now. And John Cena's the guy for Raw. Randy Orton's the guy for SmackDown. And if he takes them both out, he's the man all over. So I think this match would really benefit Kane. Now, don't count Randy Orton out. That's not what I'm saying. Randy Orton always has this presence about him that, you know, he's willing to do what he can to win and to get over. And Randy Orton, he will always accomplish that. And, you know, he's Randy Orton, and that's why. So I think Kane, though, will win this match just for storyline reasons. This match has been leaked to WWE fans as CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, and this match was leaked a while back when the rumors of Chris Jericho coming back started. Jericho came back with the whole "It Begins" promos. No one really knew who they were for. They had an idea that it was Jericho, but at the same time, there were a lot of skeptics out there. But you look back, and any of Chris Jericho's "I'm coming back" kind of promos, they always had that mystery about them, because it's like you were like, yeah, that's Jericho. Oh crap, I don't think that is Jericho. So there's always that flip flop that every wrestling fan, diehard or not, always did. Look back at the whole Y2K promos he did, where the clock kept counting down, and then, you know, the screen would go black, and then go to commercial, go back to WWE, wherever the case was. And so you didn't know who they were for back in '99. You go back to 2007, the whole Second Coming videos, and, you know, Save Us 222 and all that. No one knew who those videos were for, but they were always for Jericho. And it's weird, because it's like you know it, but at the same time you're not 100% sure. And Chris Jericho called himself before he left the second time that he was the best in the world at what he does. Flash forward to 2011 into 2012, you have CM Punk, who is the best in the world, and he calls himself a wrestler, not a sports entertainer. And he speaks his mind, he throws the pipe bomb, and CM Punk is possibly today's equivalent of Steve Austin. And I know he probably doesn't like hearing that, but it really is true. And, you know, this match has had build up. Honestly, I think that it could have been better built. It just, to me, it seems like it was all kind of rushed almost. And not that I'm saying that they really need a whole bunch of build up, because it's Jericho and CM Punk, and both guys, granted Jericho's not in his prime anymore, but granted, you know, both guys will put on a 5-star match. I think if they don't put on a 5-star match, I will be very shocked and borderline disappointed, because these two guys are just phenomenal athletes. Look at everything Jericho's done with WCW, with ECW. Look at everything CM Punk done with the revival of ECW, carrying the brand, and, you know, where he's at today. There's so much that both men have done, and of course CM Punk was a huge star in the indies, as everyone knows. And it's like there needs to be a whole bunch of twists and turns, a lot of counters, and I think this match can pull it off. But ultimately and essentially, I think your winner is going to be CM Punk, just for the fact that, you know, there's just been no build-up, and there'd be no point for him to lose. The essentially main event, if you will, for SmackDown, CM Punk versus Sheamus. I'm sorry, Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. Let me try that again. Essentially, the main event for SmackDown, Daniel Bryan, the vegan, the amazing athlete, the guy who has a beautiful girlfriend in AJ, versus Sheamus, the great white, the guy who will kick your ass from here to Ireland. Two different styles, like I said earlier. And not that it's bad, it is, if anything, it makes for a better WrestleMania. And I think with Sheamus, he hasn't really had a title run in a while, and Daniel Bryan has held that title for a long time. And this, you know, to me, this is a no-brainer. I think Sheamus is going to win, no doubt, because Sheamus he doesn't really have too much momentum. It seems every single SmackDown he's losing, and it seems like they're putting Daniel Bryan over and over more. And usually what happens with WrestleMania, if you notice, there's always that trend to where they always put one man over for a good month or so, pushing him as much as they can, only to have him lose at WrestleMania. And the reason is because, in a way, that's them pushing both guys. And that's worked in the past. It still works now. I don't like it. I just don't, because it should be even. It should be 50-50. That way, when WrestleMania time happens, you don't know who's going to win. But I think with this one, it's clearly a no-brainer. Sheamus is going to win. And, like I said, he's seems like he's just been getting buried. But, I think it's possible AJ might switch from Daniel Bryan to Sheamus. And I think, she's going to dump Daniel Bryan, rightfully so, because, Daniel Bryan's been treating her crappy on TV, as we've all seen, telling her to shut up, telling her that a dress looked better on a mannequin than her. His whole demeanor, the way he talks to her, everything. And I think she's going to see that she can do better with Sheamus. And it's possible that either A, she'll jump to Sheamus, or B, she might just, after Daniel Bryan loses, she might dump Daniel Bryan. So I don't like that. I think that they should always stay together as long as they possibly can to build up that power couple role that really has been missing since Randy Savage and Elizabeth. You haven't seen that. And to me, I think it's just more of a dominating presence when you have that. I guess you can even make the argument for Edge and Lita, but it wasn't nearly as successful as Savage and Elizabeth. But that's besides the point. Either way, I'm going to have to go with Sheamus. He's a brute powerhouse, and he's going to win. Now it's time for the match that, honestly, is the match I want to see. I would take CM Punk and Jericho any day of the week, even Daniel Bryan and Sheamus any day of the week, even The Rock and Cena any day of the week, but it's not any of those. Triple H and The Undertaker. Neither one are in their prime anymore, but that's the beauty of it. To me, that is what is going to make this match entertaining again. Is that, let's be honest here. Last year's WrestleMania between these two, not that good. The only real good part was when Triple H hit the tombstone. Everyone, including me, jaw dropped to the floor, and they had the oh shit look on their face, because you thought at that moment, that's it, he's done. There's no way the dead man can kick out from a tombstone. His own finishing move. That's just unheard of. He did. And as I said that, I got goosebumps. I don't even know if you can tell, but I got goosebumps right now just thinking about that match. Just that moment, I should say, not that match. And you want to fast forward a year later, here we are, same match. Triple H, Undertaker 2. Shawn had two great, amazing matches with The Undertaker. WrestleMania 25, probably one of my favorite matches of all time, aka Shawn Michaels and Undertaker 1. Now, fast forward, like I said, to 2012, the landscape's different now. Now they have to do it with Shawn Michaels as special referee. Will he go with Undertaker, or will he go with his best friend, Triple H? Or, better yet, will he screw Triple H and help out Undertaker? That's what I love about WrestleMania. You don't know what's going to happen. And, as if that's not enough, they're in this little tiny, small contraption called Hell in a Cell. I don't know if you've heard of it. And, it's baffling to me. They label this match the end of an era, and that is what it is. You can't call it anything else. If you want to give nicknames to matches, then the end of an era for this would fit perfect. And they have Metallica as the theme song for this match alone. When was the last time you heard of a wrestling match having its own theme song? Not the pay-per-view, not the superstars when they come out, but the match itself. Never. And there's a reason for that, because it has to be a certain level of awesomeness. And who would win? Obviously The Undertaker. They're going to keep that streak, X amount and O. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame with no losses at WrestleMania. I've said that since the beginning, and I'm saying it now. He is the dead man, That's his playground. And why would you have him lose on the biggest stage of them all after 19 years of losing, of winning? Doesn't make sense to me. So, The Undertaker, I think, will win. It is the match that everyone wants to see 1 year. 1 year in the making. This time last year, let's recap for you guys. This time last year, I was sitting at home watching Raw, like always, and my brother told me to come out ASAP, and before you know it, Cena calls out The Rock, challenging him to a match April 1st, 2012, at Wrestlemania in Miami. This is going to be hostile for Cena, and I don't think he even knows that. Cena, look, he knows hostile. He's not a stranger to it. Going back to ECW One Night Stand 2006, he knew he was the underdog. He knew that he wasn't going to win those fans over. And him and RVD, it wasn't a 5-star match, but they had a pretty damn good match. But the fans were throwing toilet paper at him. They were saying derogatory things towards him and threatening to kill Cena if he won in Philly against Rob Van Dam. 6 years later, here we are. It's Miami, The Rock's hometown. One of the biggest stars ever. One of the greatest, movie actors. Let's be honest. I'm not a fan of his, but his movies gross a lot of money worldwide. Every single movie, and that's because people want to see The Rock, and he's a great entertainer, and it was what he was born to do. And I understand Cena's beef here. The Rock turned his back on wrestling. He left in his prime. He basically screwed over WWE in a time when they really needed him. And The Rock's argument is that why stay when I proved everything? Why stay when I already paved the way for you? And two very valid arguments to that. I want Cena to win. And is it a popular decision? No. But is it my decision? Yes. And, I don't like either guy's wrestling ability. I never cared for The Rock's, and I never cared for Cena's. And people are going to bash me, I get it. But, it's just my opinion. And a lot of people like The Rock, and a lot of people like Cena. That's why it's so split, I think. And even the hardcore wrestling nerds like me, they think Cena's right, and the hardcore wrestling nerds like me think Rock's right. But the only problem, it's in Miami. The Rock, huge star, no doubt. Cena, huge star, no doubt. But when it's in his hometown, when he's not a regular wrestler, The Rock wins. The Rock will win this match. I guarantee it. I would be stunned if Cena wins. So I think The Rock will win this match, ending WrestleMania 28. Main event